what you're talking about, there are new ways, new technologies that will not only be beneficial to businesses like the auto dealership that you talked about, but also will benefit the society in general and the drinking water that they're drinking and the availability of that water because of recycling. Is that what we're talking about here?
Okay, so the number one thing that will help everyone else is, of course, the hogging the system being pulled off it. If you have two people riding a horse and the horse is getting tired, one of them needs to get off the horse. That's the problem we're dealing with centralized infrastructure. It's plenty adequate if we start migrating businesses away from relying on the central system, and they like it. I would say there continue to be work opportunities inside the centralized system. And the companies that are synergistic with them, the ones that service the utilities and so forth, absolutely. But there's a new world also where businesses are directly adopting water treatment technologies and recycling.
Well, let's have you get right into that. You know that the main focus of looking forward is to talk about opportunities. And we're talking about this massive problem of water infrastructure, trends that surround that, new ways of looking and approaching at the challenges. Our audience, job seekers, career seekers, business seekers, and investment seekers. Can you talk, Riggs, about where you see those opportunities?
Well, here's another macro trend, which is that we are, in the world, we're moving away from currency-based systems to commodity-based systems. Why? Because currencies have been abused. That's obvious. Too many governments have been playing fast and loose with money issuance for too long. And so more and more, there's a trend towards commodities. You can only falsify the price of a pound of pork belly so much. It is what it is. There you are. The pendulum is swinging more and more towards commodities. And what's interesting is that water is becoming an asset, an investment asset. It was being handled by the government. Now it's coming out into private hands for the treatment, not the fresh water. What we're doing is we're setting up these water systems for local businesses, and often they don't have the capital. And that's where we deliver them water as a service, meaning they'll pay on the meter just like they used to, but the machine will be on their site. It'll be our machine, and they won't pay the capital costs. They'll just pay as they go. There's an opportunity here, which is very similar to the oil well. I don't know if you've heard of master limited partnerships, but basically it is a world where that complements big oil, where they have these baskets of energy properties, pipelines, natural gas, oil. And there's about 60 of these partnerships, total market value about $300 billion. Investors make generational royalties off of this. They're passed on from generation to generation. And there's an opportunity to do that in water. We've set that up. We're the first to do so. There's other players in this water as a service space, but they tend to tap either big funds like Morgan Stanley or VC money. We are the only people working with the everyday investor. And so that's super exciting for people who are looking for investing opportunities that are not just throw a bunch of dollar bills in the breeze, but actually have an asset-backed opportunity. And so that's been very, very popular. And we're funding these projects with this capital right now.
That's exciting. The investment side of it. It sounds almost like crowdfunding in a way, or some other way that the general public can get involved. What about jobs, careers? This water challenge that we face, it goes way beyond infrastructure, as you alluded to, with droughts and so on. But within the space that we're talking about, where do you see the potential for people getting involved in actually making this happen? The workers, could there be careers coming out of this, Riggs?
First of all, local water service companies are growing. These businesses that are now doing their own water treatment, they need somebody to help them service the systems. And so there's a whole service business growing. And also building the systems, because as we expand our capital program called Water on Demand, we will use local water companies to do the implementations. I'm not going to go send my people to Seattle to build a system. I'll just fund a system that this local Seattle water company builds and then maintains, and everybody's happy. So building and maintaining systems, water is about engineering. It helps to know something about engineering. However, you can learn a lot of it through apprenticeship. I don't believe that you can run a water company without knowing how to bend the iron, install the filters and do all that stuff. I just don't think it's possible because you'll get trapped by all the knowledge you don't have. So the first thing people should do if they don't have an engineering background is to go apprentice as a pipe bender in one of these water companies, get a low-level job and just learn on the job how to do these things. And then there's all kinds of continuing education programs that they can take as they go. And you just learn while you work. And over time, your paycheck is going to improve. If you like engineering and so forth, and you're pretty strong with it, then it's worth considering getting going in the water business as an entrepreneurial opportunity. It's a time of growth for water, and water does not crash. It just people keep making water dirtier all the time.
Yeah.
So there's nobody in Saudi Arabia telling us we can't have our water, which is the problem with petroleum. We have water everywhere.
And this is a relatively global opportunity. I mean, certain places are probably already doing this, so there may be an opportunity to plug into what's already happening. But what you're describing is this is not just United States. These new technologies to treat the wastewater, they're needed pretty much everywhere. So there's an opportunity for entrepreneurs to get involved with these service companies, as well as people who would work for the service companies. I don't want to mischaracterize. Does that
No,
sound
it
right?
used to be a lot like civil service, and you had to kind of work your way up. Remember when I was in New York City, I knew that the back road into civil service was to be a traffic cop, right? So, but it took time. To work your way up the ladder, and then you had all the benefits. That is still available in water, but the good news is that the barrier to entry has dropped tremendously as the central water people are becoming more and more understaffed and underbudgeted, and they're delegating a lot of the work out. There's really free market opportunities in water today that there was not 10, 15 years ago.
This is not rocket science, that this is not going away. The need for this kind of a service, water treatment, using these new technologies is going to continue through this decade to grow. Can you elaborate on that just a little bit?
One of the stats is that by 2040, we will have a 50% shortage of supply against demand worldwide. So what we're seeing now is only the beginnings of the problem. Also, I might add, there is a disaster business because when hurricanes sweep through or heavy droughts happen and so forth, then groups like FEMA deploy local resources. I have a good friend who supplies these portable desalination systems, for example, to the military and FEMA and so on. And one can become a channel partner of somebody like that. My friend over at Aspen Water does a great job. That's a Texas company that is doing amazing work with emergency water supplies. That, for example, the military will use for a forward operating base, so they don't have to worry about trucking all those bottles of water in. They just put in place a system that takes whatever water is in the ground and takes the toxins out, the salt out, and now you can drink it. So, I think we're going to see a lot more of that. Water management has been very responsible. I mean, look, why do we have a problem with the Mississippi running dry? The Midwest around the Mississippi has a lot of rain. So what the heck? And what it is we've been over pumping. The Ogallala Aquifer, which lies under the Midwest, is down 150 feet. This is water that's very hard to replace. You can't just pour water in there. It's got to seep in over a period of years. It's been estimated that if the Ogallala Aquifer is finally depleted, it will take 600 years to recharge it. So we have big water stewardship problems in America, but also the rest of the world. The solutions are relatively simple. And the technology is there. We were one of the people that initiated a great compact water treatment system technology called modular water. And it's part of our growth model right now. And that division is taking off because you have these high demand areas. Let's take a look, for example, at what's happening in North Texas. Right now, North Texas is in a land boom, is running ahead of sewage. And so we're putting in place these on-site water systems. Again, it's a great business.
You mentioned about getting into this business. If you're going to be working in it, if you're going to be owning a business like this, you said apprenticing would be a good idea if you have engineering skills. What other tips?
Well, I think the main thing is to network around in your local area to see who is in water. There's need for non-engineering positions, accounting and executive positions, managerial positions, and so forth that deal with, money in, money out, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
IT opportunities. There's a lot of remote management coming in so that more and more systems can be managed remotely. It's the technology is mature. There's opportunities in IT for water, and that's another big area. And a lot of your listeners are pretty good with IT, and the water industry needs that very badly. So I would say get to know who's doing water work in your area. Is it commercial or is it residential? Remember that residential is a good space, but it's got a lot of people in it, and it's only 10% of the local the total water demand. 90% is industrial agricultural. So that's where the opportunity is. People don't look there. When I say I'm in water, they go, "Oh, do you take care of single homes?" No, I don't do single homes. Why? Like the bank robber said, I rob banks because that's where the money is.
Right.
Service industrial clients because that's where the demand is. That's where all the water is being made dirty. So all the job positions you can think of, just start looking in water, and you'll be amazed to find there's a whole economy in your local region that's doing that work, generally unnoticed, but it's happening.
In my area, we have Chester Water Authority. They're the ones responsible for our water. We're not so much talking about that kind of an opportunity or company, are we, Riggs?
Right. There are some opportunities for that, but it's like a civil service kind of thing. I would say that the companies that are directly servicing businesses with their water needs are the growth area. And those are the ones to look for.
Riggs, this has been great. You've opened my eyes up to an area that I wouldn't have thought a lot about. I certainly know about the water shortage, water technology. I don't know too much about that, but this whole other world, the 90% of the water demand is not coming from me. It's not coming from people like me. This is pretty remarkable. How can people find out more about you, about Origin Clear, and anything else you'd want them to know about?
Origin Clear is basically an incubator. And so what we did recently, we have taken everything we've built over the last 10 years and packaged it into a company that is currently on its way to hopefully getting on the NASDAQ. That's a whole other story I can't really talk about because I'm a public company CEO. But what it does mean is that Origin Clear is continuously doing new incubation projects. And so if you're interested in hearing more about that, go to originclear.com, click on the Invest Now button. Be sure to sign up for my weekly CEO briefings where you find out all the fun stuff we're up to. And you get a lot of commentary like what you've been hearing, Jeff, about what's happening in the world, with asset inflation, with water, et cetera. And so we'd love to have more people joining us on that show every week. We're up to like 220 or something like that. And
220 shows.
Correct.
Right.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Public companies used to have these broker calls back in the day, and brokers went away, but direct investors are there, and that's who we talk to. And we love it. We put a lot of effort behind it, and it's a great way to connect with us. So those are the two ways. You can also visit waterondemand.net, which is our interesting capital formation subsidiary that we are funding from Origin Clear. And again, people can participate in generational asset investments, which are very similar to what's happening in oil.
This sounds terrific. I'm going to look into this further myself. Again, it's something I hadn't thought about. Riggs, thank you so much for sharing this expertise with us about such a vital thing. I mean, I can't think of almost anything else that's more vital. Food and water, right? Shelter, of course. And being our guest here on Looking Forward Opportunities for Job, Career, Business, and Investment Seekers.
Jeff, thank you.
My pleasure.